and I communicate with people for a living. So we are in two different places in our communication skills. And one of the things I thought was really interesting with the woman who called in is that I have found a way to be very neutral with people and tell them, if I don't want to answer their question, tell them, that's really a good question. And if somebody pushes back on that, then I tell them, I'm willing to have that conversation with you, and then I sort of lay down what I need from them in order to have that conversation. And generally I find that people don't, if they're not conscious, they won't have the conversation at all. So that's my own personal experience. That's one of the tools I like to use, is that it's a really good question. But I don't have this overwhelming feeling inside of myself that I have to answer somebody's question, and I don't know what that is. That's interesting.
What are the things you say?
Ask you a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Apologize.
Listening to Suzanne talk to people, she always tells me people are just telling you about their pain if you listen close enough.
Yes. That's my experience. Yeah. Or their hopes, but their pain is reflected in their hopes as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That is my experience, that people discuss their pain, and actually I find that even though people don't realize it, but they really reveal their deepest issues, they reveal their deepest pains. They don't reveal it in a way that you think that you would think somebody would reveal something like that, but people are constantly revealing their pain and the conflict that ensues as the result of that pain. I mean, I just find that dialogue is constant from people if you listen.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's let Tommy get a question in here, and we've had somebody tune in from New York. I think she's one of my regular listeners. But Tommy, have you got a question?
Sure. It's kind of like a two-part question. Most people would probably agree with you that they want happiness in their life. Second to that, most people want a relationship to make that happiness work. Now, I would say the first thing is one person would have to decide what path they want to live in their life, meaning a spiritual path, a physical path, or a relationship. They don't always go together, including the path that you're on, because I'm with a Buddhist, so I know all about it. Now, a Buddhist, they make their whatever you want to call it, dedication to their path. Now, in a conversation, when a person's in a certain path, how do you have a conversation with somebody that doesn't believe in the same things you believe in if you're trying to keep a relationship going? Now, just a real short thing. Buddhism doesn't believe in a real God. I'm the opposite. I believe in a real God. And then that other word that always comes in, the emptiness and knowingness and all those other words. But in the conversation, like if I was trying to talk to you for real, I'm sure you don't believe in a solid, real God, not a solid, but a specific entity that's God itself. Were you ever married? Because I was married 3 times. And religion is different than spiritualism to me, because my first wife didn't have any religion. My second wife, well, she brought me into a religion called Ekankar. So, I mean, each one of those things have an effect on you. I mean, it has to become part of your life, but does it have to become part of your happiness? If you want to stay in a relationship, it does. But how do you communicate in any path? Most people don't say anything about the religion until after they're married. I mean, and that's pretty dumb. But what would your answer be? How do you communicate with somebody that's like in the opposite religion?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. It's really important. And what comes up from my mind right now is the political realm, where we have people who are essentially in different religions, you could think of them anyway, that they have a different way to understand reality, and it's very hard for those people to speak with each other. A lot of people go home for the holidays and they dread it, actually, because they know that they're going to be confronted with conversations that are difficult for them to have around politics and people who they have a hard time speaking with. So same thing with religion, same thing with a lot of things. Well, one technique that I use there's the ground rule, I guess, first is that different people are going to have different perspectives, so that's just a reality. If someone disagrees with you about something, it just means that they're a different person than you, and that should be accepted. If you want to accept the person, you can accept that they believe something that you don't believe, and that's it takes a little bit of spiritual strength in order to love the person despite them holding a different perspective. But even if you're speaking with someone and they have a completely different perspective, just because you're speaking with that person, you have a shared purpose with that person. So if it's your brother, you have a shared purpose with them. If it's your wife, obviously you have a shared purpose with them. And so when power struggle or when disagreements start to kind of take their own, take control of the conversation, you can notice that's happening. Notice the disconnection and the pain that's happening in the relationship or in you or in the other person. And you can just switch, you can change the topic of conversation to the shared purpose, which is your purpose in having the conversation to begin with. So a Democrat, for example, could be speaking with a Republican and they could be having some kind of a heated debate. And then once someone wakes up and they realize, this is actually not, I don't really enjoy this, but I want to be connected with this person. I want to empathize with them and understand their needs, even if I don't agree with their thoughts and perspective. One of them could say to the other, you know what, I'm really present to the fact that we really love our country and we want what's best for this country, even though we have different ideas about how to bring it about. And we are both patriots, and it really, really matters to us that the United States is well and whole. And that kind of invoking the shared purpose can create a lot of connection and actually can restore beautiful, heartfelt rapport with another person without needing them to change and without needing us to change. It's just focusing on a different aspect of our lives.
We have a call from Connecticut. I'm not sure if this is Jan or not. Connecticut, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have an intuitive question. Is that all right?
I don't know.
So.
We're doing communication relationships with James Tolley today. Do you have a question about a relationship?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Go ahead.
So my question is, it's interesting. Universe provides, this is how I gauge it. When you're ready to kind of upgrade yourself, first thing is a relationship with yourself, which is me right now. And in a sense, I'm talking about me. So, I really feel like universe is helping me weed out all the people who no longer serve me. They just, we're just on a different level playing field. It's like I'm playing football, they're playing basketball, which is a different sport. So I'm moving on up, so to speak. And so I'm really wondering about how I can meet my same kind of soul tribe person, because I think the more I'm upgrading my frequency, it's kind of like a catch-22. The harder it is to meet people on that wavelength. It's not like I'm better. The frequency is just different. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Okay.
Sorry, I was hit the New York number. We'll get to you in a minute, New York. Okay, so that's Connecticut. Connecticut, what's your first name so James can address you?
Sure, my name is Amla.
Hi, Amla. So
Hi.
It sounds like you feel that you are clearing the space in your life for a certain kind of a person to come into your world. And you want to know how to use communication skills in order to invite that person to come into your life.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in literally in the middle. Like I'm not in my past, and I'm not in I haven't met this person yet, of course, but I definitely feel like I'm really on my way. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would say that, just in terms of communication skills, I guess I would recommend that if I were in your position, I would actually practice communication skills and study them so that when the person comes, you can connect with them on a deep, authentic, vulnerable, intimate level more easily, more effectively, and more often. So when that person comes into your life, you probably would like to provide for them safety and love and acceptance and care And to be really skilled at providing empathy and love and care for another person, if you have those skills and you can call on that quality in you whenever you want to through your words to show another person your care and empathy and understanding and love, that will really set you up in a good way so that when that person enters your life, then you can actually satisfy their needs for love and empathy. So that's what comes to mind right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
it's more. I'm sorry?
No, I was just telling him thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I thank you. I just, it's just with me in the past, as far as, it's always a stepping stone. And it's like, I know I'm actually what you just said are the qualities that I am in a relationship. In air quotes, my problem was that the other person, they just were the wrong person because they weren't on that same level. So that's I guess the roadblock is that I know I'm it because you have to be it in order to attract it. That's for sure, right? So I know that I'm loyal. I know I am, respectful person. So I'm looking for that, and that's the tricky part. I don't know. Maybe it's just timing.
All right. Well, thank you. And stick around. We've got another hour, folks, so we'll do another round. Let me get this last person on here that's been patiently waiting in New York, and we'll get back to all our regulars, Suzanne and Rich and Tommy. 917, you're live and on the air with TJ Morris ET Radio and James Tolley. Do you have a question for him?
TJ Morris, no, I'm just calling because I like hearing your voice. How are you doing?
Oh! I love you too.
I love you.
Great.
Thank
you so much for supporting us. Thank you.
I love
This
listening.
is a new style.
How are you doing? Okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm hoping James Tolley's going to stay with us. He's got a wonderful voice. Do you like his voice? Talking in front of him while he's here, he'll probably give us a tip on that.
I love the people that you gathered today, the female with the artist marriage and the psychic and all of your beautiful people that you gathered together. Good for you, TJ, to keep it going.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
very kind.
Yeah, I really appreciate TJ Morris. She's a strong woman, hangs in there thick and thin. She's been through so much, and she's here serving everybody else. So I really, really appreciate her bringing people together. And I've known her for many, many years, and I'm so glad she's back on the radio show. So I love you.
Really sweet.
Well, God bless you.
You're like an aunt.
You.
You're like my aunt from another dimension.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
you are.
That's really sweet. Wow.
Yeah,
right.
Tommy's here too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you. No
Lovely.
question for James. You're not dealing with any relationships right now?
I don't have any. I don't have a guy right now, unfortunately.
Okay.
Well, maybe
thank you for your support.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
And we'll probably come back.
Take good care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah,
and so we'll probably do psychic readings Thursday night.
Another time. I love you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love
Bye.
you. Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.
Bye.
All right. She's listening to us, James. So, James, can you take another round of questions? Are you up for it? We've got a whole other hour. Or would you like to talk on another part of your talk?
James, can I ask you one question before we move on? Oh, I just can't wait.
I'm happy to take a round of questions.
So I really loved the caller, and she called in and she talked about her communication. And the first thing that I wanted to know was how old she was, because I think some skills and some areas of development in communication are sometimes age-related, such as when we come into our throat chakra, and let's see, 7, 14, 21, 35. We're 35 years old. Is that right? Yeah, it's 35. 35 when we come into our throat chakra. And so having our voice and speaking up for ourselves, that's sort of like a developmental process. So I think...
You mean New York? She's on. You can ask her.
No. It was the woman from Connecticut who was on the phone with us who had the question about how